Hello, YouTube. It is me, Raina, and I am back. So here we are, the final episode of season 1 of The Last of Us, and it was another one hit out of the park. Great. Love the finale. I was kind of nervous of it being like 45 minutes long, but then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, because I mean, I know where they start, and I'm like, yeah, this seems like a good amount because at this point in the game, this is basically the rest that happens except for the flashback when it comes to Ellie's mother, Anna. Um, from my memory, we don't know what happens to Ellie's mother and how she came to be, but it was great to see that. And also, Ellie's mother is played by the Ashley Johnson, who played Ellie in the original Last of Us games. It was so great to see her in this. She was amazing as usual. I love Ashley. I've if you don't know, I've followed these games since not the beginning, but kind of at the beginning, and I'm just always in awe of her talent. Recently these past few months, I've been watching her on Critical Role. She's amazing there. But my number one thing from Ashley that I've always been a fan of her of was this series, The Last of Us, and seeing her in a brand new role, but still in this world is amazing. I nearly cried. Don't laugh at me, but it was just amazing to not only see Ashley, but to see the flashback of Ellie's mother, what she went through, and how she had Ellie. I think it was a very great indication of how that happened and how it kind of really mirrors what happens to Ellie in this episode. But the way they adapted the ending of the game, I thought was really great. I love how they did the giraffe scene. That's like my kind of number one favorite scene in all the games. Like that moment, it's like a calm before the storm, basically. In the last part of the game, it's kind of like a breather from what happened with David and the winter and all that jazz, and everything before we get to the hospital stuff with Marlene. And yeah, this is a big consequence of what Joel does, but I completely understand it. They kind of reinstated more here than they did in the game because Joel gets to vocalize how much Ellie means to him. He doesn't say it outright, but you get, the subtext and what he is trying to communicate to Ellie in those moments before the hospital, and you understand why 110%. It's been there since the end of the first episode, and it's no surprise that this would happen. And there's, I'm assuming there's going to be consequences. I'm not going to say any spoilers of the second game. I'm just going to assume there are going to be consequences of this. But for now, we'll stay with this. The whole thing with Ellie being a vaccine. And this has been my stance personally when it comes to the whole vaccine thing with Ellie. I do believe that there could be one, but considering now in the post-COVID world, I mean, I've thought about this in the pre-COVID world, but you think about vaccines, who do you give it out to first? Who do you heal first? There's a lot of factors that goes into that. And the fact that we've experienced this, it really gives a different viewpoint on all this. And I think it kind of really proves my point on all this. But still, Joel gunning down everybody, very, I understand, but, it's a choice. But I mean, like I said, he really, reinstated, how much Ellie means to him. And we get that, like I said, it's been there since the end of the first episode, and we understand why. It's a very brutal scene, but we do understand. And yes, the choice is taken away from Ellie, but it was taken away by both parties involved with Marlene and Joel. She had no choice in this. And so, the ending, of course, leaving it on that big cliffhanger, kinda, like I said, there might be consequences to that also. So my overall thoughts on not only this episode, but this whole entire series, I think it's been said time and time again about this show. This is the standard of video game adaptations to TV shows. I remember years ago, they were talking about doing a movie version of this, and I just think with how the game is set up by seasons, it kind of already gives you an episodic feeling. It leaves you on cliffhangers at the end of each chapter, and I think it works so well as a show, and this proved it time and time again. It'll be very interesting to see how they adapt part two, considering how long that game is. I'm going to assume they're going to split it into, season 2 and season 3. I think that would work well for that story, considering what happens. But as for part 1, the first game, I think this whole entire show was really well paced, really well acted. The set design, immaculate. Just how they've adapted the stories and the characters and honored the original game. Yes, some of the actors who were in the game be in this, especially with Troy and Ashley. I just really loved honoring that. And it didn't overshadow it neither. They played their parts, and it gave the space for Pedro and Bella to do their beautiful, honest, great work. Like I said, this show will be nominated for Emmys, and I'm so happy for everyone involved. And I, for one, cannot wait and scared for season 2. So what are your thoughts? Leave your comments down below and bye YouTube.